right, so we watched another Sergio Martino Giallo, The Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh. For legality purposes, some chick wanted to sue this production because of her name being too close to the character. Oh. And so they had to throw an H on it to appease the court. So if you're wondering why this H is like on there and it's like a weird ass spelling,
that's why.
That's why. Oh. So it was just Ward with no H.
Yeah.
And then they were like Ward. Because when we saw it, we were like, Ward?
Yeah, we were like, how do you say that?
How the hell do you say this? It was just Ward. Okay. So anyway, this has basically the exact same cast of the previous one that we watched.
Yes.
This one has an absolute staggering amount of really, really attractive women nude in it.
It does.
And it was glorious. I usually talk about like, oh, this movie didn't have, I wish we could have got more. Or, like, I always like to see some. Holy shit. This one, like, satisfied all of my nudity cravings for the week. Jesus Christ. Every chick in this movie gets naked right and left. And they are all beautiful. It's incredible. This movie is awesome. This is yet another knock out of the park. Sergio Martino. Loved both of these.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch the, your body or your
vice is a locked
Your vice is a locked room. I only have the key. Which is actually a line from this film.
Yeah.
That was left in a letter.
Yes.
And the title of that movie is a reference to this.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, I don't know if this is already a thing, but this honestly feels like a trilogy.
It does.
We'll see with the next one, because she's also the star of that one. Yeah. It's the same director. But this one, okay, I should say a duology for now, because those are the two we've seen, right? But this and All the Colors of the Dark, or They're Coming to Get You, it had alternate titles. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a multiverse film, where it's like these are all the same people, but they're just living kinds of like different lives, and they all have like nexus points where they all end up meeting each other and being together, because her husband's played by the same guy once again. I don't know which one I liked more. This one was really cool. And after, because a lot of these, they're so twisty and turny, and they do them so quick that I kind of get lost in the plot.
Yeah,
But once I read it, because I went back just to confirm like some things, like, okay, what happened again here? And when I went back and read it, it's actually like, it is pretty straightforward. There's nothing really that confusing per se, but there's so many like double crosses and twists and everything that you're like, wait a minute, like, what's happening?
That's such a trope in Giallos, and I've actually found that the last like 3 Giallos, this one included, that we watched, I feel like the last 20 minutes of the film for each one gets confusing for some reason. But then when you read a synopsis, or even just if you think about it, like, it's not so confusing you can't figure out what's happening.
Oh no.
But like, the same thing happened in Blood and Black Lace, actually, which I know is a different director, but like the last 20 minutes, it was like, wait, what's going on? And I felt the same way about this, where the ending is like, there's just so much happening, like, and the reveals. The other thing too is that I feel like Giallos, I love the setup of like who's killing, who's doing what, and like all of the like paranoia and like suspicion and everything. But then whenever they do the reveals, I always feel like the reveals are so like matter of fact, and it kind of it's weird. Like it's tropey, so I guess it works in this case. But it's like maybe looking at it from like a modern film standpoint, where I don't want you to spell it out that much. Like I want to know maybe like who did it, but I don't need you to like literally have the character like sit down and explain to me like, we did this, we could double cross her. And so that's kind of, it's a little corny, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
It's very expositional.
Yeah, but it's fine. Like, it's not a huge knock or anything, because I do think that these types of movies are very stylized, and that is part of the style. So I'm fine with it, but of the two from this director, I think I probably like All the Colors of the Dark more. It was a little bit more, a little bit more stylized, a little bit more like surreal, which I'm really into. And this one, though, I think is a really sexy film.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of what it's going for. And like the secret or the strange vice is like that she's got like a blood kink and like likes to be dominated, basically.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny because it seemed pretty tame. I mean, like, okay, it's not that tame when he's like slapping her around in the rain, but she's like all into it. So that was an interesting thing because it's like consensual rape. So I don't know, but yeah, this one was really entertaining too. Like so far, I think both of the films have been really great giallos, but I think I lean more towards All the Colors of the Dark because of the style.
And I lean more towards this one because of all the nudity. No, I actually, one thing I really enjoyed in this movie, and it's not because she's like some wonderful person or anything, but her friend Carol was cracking me up throughout this thing. This is like one of the most, I do not care at all about anything. Yeah. I am who I am. I do what I want, when I want, with who I want.
Yeah.
And I do not care who it hurts. I don't care about anything. She's just so blasé about everything. She's getting like a parking ticket, and she's just kind of is so whatever about it. Like, oh, he's like, oh, you don't want it. He's like, no, I want it. I collect autographs.
Yeah.
And she's like throws it in there, and then she just pulls out in the street without even looking and just pulls right across the way. And even when she like goes to confront the killer, she's so like doesn't care until she's being stalked. Then we finally see a different side of her. But like the sex party that she like has, and the girl in like the girls in like the paper clothes where everyone starts like attacking them.
So weird. I was very like, because that was definitely a scene where I'm like, because like the girls are like into it, but at first I was like, that feels weird. Like, why are they pushing them around? But then they like went along with it, and I was like, okay, I guess this is like normal, and like this is what they like are meaning to do. But definitely this one, and I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, it has a rapey vibe to everything. But that character that you're talking about, the friend Carol, she also like in that same scene with the car, she's like, oh, we should be glad that he's like eliminating our competition. Like,
oh my god, after they find out this girl, the girl from the party who was one of the girls with the paper dresses, she finds out that she got killed, and she's like, oh, we should just be lucky that she's eliminating the competition.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Very awful, but yeah.
And they just laugh about it. They both do. Julie
it's
too.
Super weird. It's a super weird reaction to have. And
Julie has the worst taste in men imaginable.
Yes, she's a very self-destructive character, and that's definitely one thing in the film that it's interesting because she obviously survives and like makes it through all of these like toxic men in her life, but she definitely is attracted to bad people, like, and that's her strange vice. Honestly, it's not so much that she's like into blood or whatever and like pain. It's like she's just knows how to pick the bad ones.
So I feel like Wes Craven must have been into Giallos when he wrote Scream, because Scream is like a really, really tamed down, very, very toned down as well. The style is nowhere near like this. The nudity, the gore, the mean-spiritedness of it, like the style, none of that's there.
Scream.
But like the double killers with the ridiculous motives and the over-explanation at the end of why they do things. It's
a modern giallo, a modern self-aware giallo.
Yeah.
That is definitely why Scream is so wonderful, actually, is because it takes those tropes and is self-aware of them. It's the meta commentary.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I know,
but I get
this is why it's so great. That you're just wrong, but
that's why it's not so great. That's why I like the movies that it's doing it. I'm not a big fan of the movies that are trying to like point out that they recognize that. It's just, I don't know, it's too on the nose for me. But anyway, enough with the Scream. But I was the one that brought it up. but it's just, it is a very, very convoluted film.
Yeah.
And that is why it can get so confusing while it's happening. Because, like, the way this plays out is that so you're trying to figure out who the killer is. Then the killer, and for a minute, I honestly thought this was how it was going to end. And I was going to be like, wow, that's one of the more ballsy endings I've ever seen. And it's that and I actually really loved it. And I actually almost think I would have preferred it, but it wouldn't have been as Giallo with how ridiculous the ending gets. But the killer's revealed to just be some random asshole. And he ends up getting killed by just some random chick. And then I thought that it was going to cut to her being off in Spain.
Yeah.
With freaking, what is it, Neil?
Yeah.
And, or no.
No.
She's with Jean.
No, she's not.
Or John's the ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, John's
who's like abusive.
She's with Neil.
She's with Neil. Neil's the cousin.
The new boyfriend.
Of Carol.
Yeah.
Who she has the affair with on George.
Yeah.
So you've got this. So the whole movie you're trying to figure out who the killer is. The killer ends up being random, but then it's found out that Carol and Neil's were getting a big inheritance, and Julie has a huge life insurance policy on her.
Yeah.
So George and Neil orchestrate a plan to take the murders that are happening, that are in town, use it to their advantage, stage each other's murders, very Strangers on a Train, or my favorite, Throw Mama from the Train.
Yeah.
Do a little crisscross action. Mm-hmm. You kill my chick, I'll kill your chick.
Yeah.
One, I guess it would be George is successful in his murder of Carol. Neil is not successful in his attack on Julie.
Yeah.
And then after he's gonna whisk her away, which I don't know what the plan was there, because she doesn't get word that the killer's killed until she's in Spain.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand what Neil's plan was with her, because he steals her away. And I think what ends up happening there is, because she doesn't die, he's like, well, I'm getting the inheritance and I'm just going to take his wife. Like, and he's not going to get her money. Right? I'm getting my money. So what? But they don't ever really allude to that much.
Yeah.
But he like runs off with her. So I don't really know what the intention is there. Like, was he still meaning to kill her? Because then George hires Jean, her abusive ex-boyfriend, who we thought was the killer, and she stays away from, because he understands her strange vice. He's the only one who does. But she doesn't like that she has it, so she's trying to like have a new life. She does like the safe boyfriend, the safe husband, which is end up being the guy who tries to kill her for the money.
Yeah.
And then George hires Jean to stage it to make it look like she killed herself with carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
The doctors say that she's dead, but she's not actually dead, because they find out from an autopsy of Carol that Carol's killing did not match the killing of the killers. So they have suspicions that George and dude are in on it together, fake her death so that they'll meet up and give away the game.
Whole
this
part is like
so convoluted.
The other thing too is that doesn't John try and kill her with the harpoon gun before he even like tries to stage her suicide?
Yeah.
I don't remember like if they talk, if Jean and George talk after that, if there's a time for them to, but I guess there is. But anyway, yeah, this is where it all gets very convoluted, and there's definitely like a charm to it, of course, because it's just like you're watching it like, wait, what? And it's funny, but I think that's probably my biggest criticism of Giallo films is like their endings. Not all of them, of course, but
oh no, I love it.
It's fun. I'm not saying when I say criticism, I mean like it's the thing that I think is that brings them down, if there's anything, is that for me. Yeah. But I still think that they're. I that's what I agree with, as I also think it's part of the charm. But as I don't want to repeat myself. I already said it before, but But this was really fun. This was a good one. I like seeing the same actors. I like that this director uses the same cast and puts them in, like, you know, slightly different roles. Obviously, I think that this lead actress is, like,
gorgeous.
Just probably one of the most, beautiful women I've ever seen. Yeah. Like, she's just... And she has such a perfect face and, like, features for a Giallo film. Like, she's got these really big eyes, which are always great in horror movies in general. But I just feel like she's so expressive and so sensual.
Yeah.
And anyway, but, and, like, she loves to get naked, too. That's also the other fun thing is that, like, most of the clothes that she was wearing,
I was going to say, even when she's clothed,
they're, like,
she's still
see-through
naked.
tops and stuff, which when I watch, like, 70s movies, like, they're so, they have a sexiness to them that I'm like, wow, like, people dressed like that. Like, women were just like, I'm going to let my boobs be shown. But then I'm like, that's probably not everybody did that, but,
free love, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But that was definitely the time.
It was just the rejection.
Yeah.
Of, you know, that more conservative view on how women should act and whatever.
Yeah.
And I like this version of things, obviously. But correction. So thank you to, I think it was Jacob, maybe. Whoever it was, I appreciate it. They corrected me that she is not the bloodbath girl in Hostel 2.
Oh, she's not.
She is in it, but that's not her role.
Oh, okay.
So she has a cameo elsewhere.
I see.
So
okay.
I wanted to make sure we corrected that here. You can never go back and correct it once the video's out. So that, you know, but we get to correct it here, and you know, this is just another super fun time. Yeah. This is one I would love to own on like a Blu-ray, really clean up version. I don't know where to get a copy of this. I'm sure it exists in some really stellar transfer. I hope it does. But these have been great, and I'm really looking forward to watching the Vice movie next.
Yeah, we always talk about this title. Yeah. And that's definitely something that is also a favorite of mine of Giallo films, is their titles are like the coolest things ever. And I wish movies still named themselves like this.
I know this is a product of the time, but if I was to say the only like downside negative, if I was to come up with any for these, I don't like that these movies glorify aggressive male behavior towards women, and women ultimately giving into it.
Yeah.
The way that she has this relationship with Neil in the movie, and she's aggressively being like, no.
Yeah.
And he's risking her life on this motorcycle. Yeah. And she's like screaming in his ear to stop. And then the next scene is like her laughing and being like, oh my God, that was such a thrill. Thank you so much. Yeah. And then the next thing's like, we can't see each other again. And he like basically breaks into her apartment and forces himself onto her. And then she's like, oh my God, like I'll run away with you. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like it sends a really bad message to dudes that like, they don't really mean no. Just absolutely, if you push hard enough.
Yeah.
And these movies are always like this.
Yeah.
These like 60s and 70s Italian films, you'll notice the trend.
Yeah.
The more we watch of these, I've always noticed this. The men are so aggressive. Yeah. And the women are always like, no, I can't, please. And they'll be punching and kicking. And they'll straight up rape them at points.
Yeah.
And then the women will like thank them, and they'll be like in love with them after it. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck is this?
I mean, these are definitely like, I guess as much as it pains me to say it, like it's the male gaze. Like that's what these films kind of tend to be. Is like,
it's like she's your property. You just gotta take her.
Yeah, and also much like the Hammer films that we were watching, where like the women are very like one-dimensional. I wouldn't say that the women are one-dimensional in this, but there's definitely a gendered like stereotype thing going on with like how the men and women interact, and you know that's always a bummer to see, of course. Like bummer is like putting it lightly, but I try not to I don't know. If I think too much about it, it'll make me like get in my head, I guess, about the films.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say, really.
I mean,
I do notice that. I do notice the sexism. How about that? Like, there is a lot of like sexism in the films, but like some of it is also relevant to the story. So not all of it is just like projected onto the characters, if that makes sense. Like,
sure. I don't allow it to like hurt my experience watching it. It irks me while watching it. Like I'm glad we've moved away from this, and it feels like a time capsule and like a reminder of like, this is how these films were written, and that's fine. Like I don't think they should be censored or changed or anything like that. That's not what it is. It's just like a reminder of like, God damn.
But it is a good. I would never want to censor them either or ban them. But it is like, this is why media is so important and influential, because like a lot of guys in that era, this is how they would treat women.
Yeah.
And obviously guys they still treat women like shit to a degree, but like I would say that the trend in media is definitely now to try and not portray that as something that's acceptable.
Yeah.
So there is a difference that's being put forth in like movies and TV shows nowadays. Yeah. So, but
anyway,
it is what it is.
I just wanted to bring it up because it is super. It's a trope in these. Yeah. It's something that's reoccurring constantly, and it's not okay. But I don't know, because it's a film, right? To me it just comes off as more funny. Like when I'm like, oh, there we go again, another chick's getting raped.
But see, like that's kind of what I was gonna.
Which
I was
like, oh my god, you find rape funny? No, I don't find rape funny. I find this funny. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous.
Well, because it's when things are so. It's like the friend who's like saying like, they eliminated the competition. Like, that's what's like funny about it. Like when people are just like so mean. But like, all I'll say is that there are people who can be influenced, obviously, by what they see on the screen. So you're somebody who has like self-awareness of the fact that it's a movie, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's how you're supposed to act towards women or whatever. But there are plenty of people that don't have that self-awareness, and that's why I'm glad that movies are no longer as sexist as they used to be. So
whatever. I get all my dating advice from Zula, from our Conan the Destroyer.
If you see
grab him, take him.
Take him.
That's how I do things. All right, guys. Look forward to the discussion of your
room is a
vice
is a locked room, and only I have the key.
Your vice is a locked room.
Your room is a blocked vice.
Yeah, I was going all sorts of places in my head with that one.
Your vice is a locked room, and only I have the key.
So we'll talk about that soon enough. We're going to watch that here very, very soon. Whether it's tonight or tomorrow, we'll see. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.